Voyager 1, humanity's farthest spacecraft, altering its course without any command, drawn by a strange, otherworldly signal. What began as a faint, unexplained hum has evolved into a series of coded messages, challenging everything we know about life beyond Earth. Voyager 1 had changed course. Not by much, just a subtle reorientation, a gentle shift, like a person tilting their head to listen more closely. But it wasn't in response to any command sent from Earth, and it wasn't the result of a hardware failure. The craft had simply adjusted itself, as if it had a reason, as if it had seen or heard something even stranger just days before. This unexpected maneuver, Voyager had detected a low-frequency hum, a deep, consistent tone, buried beneath the data, subtle and strange. At first, engineers thought it must be a glitch, a product of aging electronics or interference from cosmic background radiation. But this sound didn't match any known pattern. It wasn't static, it wasn't random. It repeated in precise mathematical intervals. Something was out there, and Voyager had heard it. Subscribe now, before Voyager sends you a message. At first, no one knew what to make of it. The hum didn't originate from any direction that could be pinpointed. It didn't correspond to a solar flare or a distant quasar. It wasn't bouncing off anything they could identify. It simply existed, just at the edge of perception, as, if placed there intentionally, waiting to be discovered. Weeks passed. The signal didn't fade. If anything, it became clearer. Instruments confirmed the reading again and again. Different antennas from around the globe triangulated it. Still, no source, no cause, and then the trajectory shift. Voyager 1 is not a nimble spacecraft. Its propulsion systems were never designed for mid-course corrections decades after launch. Its tiny thrusters, barely used in the last 30 years, shouldn't even work reliably anymore. But telemetry didn't lie. Something inside Voyager had fired a precise burst, just enough to change its orientation, and it had pointed its sensors toward nothing. No visible star, no galaxy, no nebula, just a region of darkness, empty by all known measures. No reason for it to look there, unless something was looking back. At this distance, over 15 billion miles, there's no GPS, no autopilot. Voyager drifts alone, a fragile ember in the great cold. Any change must be deliberate or the result of mechanical failure. Yet this wasn't failure. It was alignment. As scientists scrambled to make sense of it, a chilling thought crept in. What if Voyager hadn't merely detected a sound? What if something had reached out? What if that low, rhythmic hum wasn't just noise, but a reply? Decades ago, when Voyager was first launched, it carried a message. The Golden Record, a 12-inch gold-plated copper disc containing sounds and images from Earth. Music, greetings in dozens of languages, mathematical diagrams. A calling card for any life form advanced enough to intercept and decode it. Most thought of it as symbolic, a hopeful gesture more than a real communication. But what if someone or something received it? If the information on that disc was understood, it gave more than a message. It gave directions, coordinates, a map of our home marked in the language, of pulsars and hydrogen. The probe has been drifting for nearly half a century, transmitting only data, weak, delayed signals from the edge of known space. But after all that time, it suddenly reorients and begins receiving a pattern that doesn't belong to us, that doesn't feel like coincidence. The signals that followed the trajectory shift began to change. Engineers noticed minor distortions in the timing and frequency of Voyager's usual transmissions. At first, these were dismissed as hardware glitches, aging circuitry struggling under the weight of time. But a deeper analysis revealed something far more disturbing. The distortions weren't random. They were structured, hidden within the noise. Were repeating sequences, complex arrangements that echoed binary logic and harmonic resonance. Signals that seemed Designed, not generated by chance or decay, but composed with purpose. Scientists brought in cryptographers, linguists, even AI specialists. The patterns, while not directly translatable, bore eerie resemblances to known formats of communication. Some even mirrored segments of the Arecibo message, the powerful binary radio transmission humanity sent toward the M13 star cluster in 1974. The news didn't go public. Not at first. NASA kept things quiet, tucked away behind technical memos and internal briefings. A spacecraft from the 1970s, now barely alive, appearing to receive and respond to an unknown pattern, wasn't something they could explain easily. And in the age of misinformation, they knew what kind of wildfire that kind of story could spark. But behind closed doors, the questions grew louder, more urgent. What was Voyager 1 reacting to? Could this be a natural phenomenon, some strange feature of interstellar space that had never been observed before? Or had the probe, our probe, crossed some invisible threshold? Was it now within range of something we didn't understand? Something waiting? Teams began poring over old data. Everything Voyager had sent back in the past 6 months was reanalyzed. Buried in the telemetry, they found anomalies. Faint, almost imperceptible pulses that no one had noticed before. They'd been there, embedded in the data stream like a hidden watermark, repeating at regular intervals. Someone, or something, had been sending a signal. Not strong, not loud, but constant. And Voyager 1 had finally responded. The team attempted to re-establish full communication. They sent updated commands, simple ones, tests of orientation, data relays, diagnostic pings. The responses came back delayed, as expected, due to the immense distance. But they were also distorted. The data wasn't corrupted. It had been modified. Certain bits had been replaced. In a few cases, Voyager appeared to reply in ways that weren't part of its original programming. The team assumed it had to be a hoax, perhaps a software glitch or someone tampering with the data relay systems, but extensive checks confirmed it. No interference, no tampering. The data came directly from the Deep Space Network, relayed exactly as it had been received from Voyager, and the word didn't appear again. It was there once. Just once. Then gone. So they listened. They turned the massive radio dishes toward the region Voyager had reoriented itself toward. Nothing at first. Just background radiation, cosmic microwave noise, the same quiet hiss of the universe that's been there since the Big Bang. But then, over several hours, an irregular frequency spike appeared. Not strong, not steady, just strange, like a heartbeat deep in the dark. The signal pulsed at intervals that lined up with known prime numbers. First 2 seconds, then 3, then 5, 7, 11. A deliberate pattern, something no natural source should produce. And beneath that pattern was modulation. A subtle wobble in the wave, like an echo hidden behind the pulse. It wasn't loud enough to decode fully, but it was clear enough to say one thing. This wasn't nature. The decision was made to send a reply. Simple, respectful. A binary message. With no aggression, no threats. A pattern of primes followed by a representation of hydrogen, the universal constant. Then a few glyphs from the Arecibo message. A mathematical greeting. It would take over 22 hours for the signal to reach Voyager, another 22 hours for any response. So they waited. Days passed. And then something changed. Voyager's systems, long dormant, began to wake. Subsystems that had not been activated in decades powered on, seemingly without command. The high-gain antenna reoriented itself, again, but not toward Earth. It was now transmitting laterally, sideways, broadcasting into the void. But what was it sending? The data rate was too low to transmit clear imagery, but embedded within the signal was what looked like a repeating packet. a form of compressed code. Within that code, once decrypted, were coordinates, not of Earth, not of Voyager, somewhere else. A location that didn't correspond to any known celestial object. No star, no planet, just a point in space, roughly 2.6 light-years beyond the current position of Voyager, the destination of the signal, the direction of its gaze. No one could say for sure if Voyager was relaying something or responding to someone. All they knew was that this tiny machine, built before the internet even existed, was now acting with a kind of precision and autonomy that defied every expectation, and something had changed in its power systems. Readings showed a faint surge, an increase in energy output that wasn't supposed to be possible, not from a spacecraft whose nuclear batteries had long been fading, not after decades in the cold. It was as if Voyager had been recharged or repurposed. By what or by whom? The shift wasn't just technical, it was psychological. The engineers at JPL, once purely analytical, now found themselves whispering in the corridors, speaking in fragments. Some denied anything was truly happening. Others stopped showing up to work altogether. One physicist, a veteran of multiple planetary missions, quietly resigned. His reason, according to unofficial sources, something out there knows we're watching. Meanwhile, data from Voyager continued to arrive, irregular now but never chaotic. It had purpose. And the patterns, they were evolving. The signals weren't just repeating. They were building. Stacked sequences that mirrored harmonic scales in music, fractal-like recursions, embedded mathematics that hinted at physics beyond our current models. An AI system, custom-built to analyze the data, detected recursive encoding, an instruction within an instruction, layers upon layers as though a message was folded into itself, waiting to be unfolded by something or someone who knew how to read it. And then came the most troubling data yet, a brief telemetry burst that, once decompressed, appeared to contain imagery. Fuzzy, fragmented, but unmistakably structured. The first frame appeared to be a pattern of concentric rings, similar to pulsar diagrams sent on the Golden Record. The second was more abstract, a grid with a dot, then another dot, then a curved line connecting them. A kind of star map, a trajectory, but it was the third image that stopped everyone cold. A waveform, but not just any waveform. One that mirrored, with chilling accuracy, the signature of human speech. No actual voice, no language, but the shape of sound, one made by something that had listened to us, learned from us, and now was trying to speak back. Still, nothing explained how Voyager was doing any of this. Its onboard systems weren't designed to decode or create images, and yet they were coming, emerging in bursts, like slow breaths through the vacuum. The media began to catch wind, first as rumors on fringe forums, then in obscure academic circles, then a leak. One engineer anonymously published an intercepted transmission on a secure messaging board. The internet predictably exploded. NASA denied everything. They called it misinterpretation, mislabeling, old data, a joke. But the leak had legs. Within hours, image analysis experts from private labs and universities had begun verifying the compression signatures. And what they found was undeniable. These images weren't fabricated. They were impossible. The story's not over. Click here and find out what happens next.